And well, for more on this, we're now being joined by Raymond E. Vickery from Washington, D.C. He is a senior associate at the Center for Strategic and International Studies and also a former U.S. Assistant Secretary of Commerce for Trade. He's joining us live from Washington, D.C. Thank you for being here with us on World DNA, Mr. Vickery. Now, Prime Minister Modi just held a roundtable conference with the top CEOs in New York, and there were also major announcements made in trade and clean energy transition. Talk to us about the growing global and strategic partnership between New Delhi and the U.S.
Happy to, and happy to be with you. Thanks for the opportunity. Always a pleasure to be with WION. I think it's a very important day. You've highlighted the meeting with the CEOs, and that brings into play the strong economic relationship between the United States and India. When I was Assistant Secretary of Commerce, we had the first ever presidential level business development mission from the U.S. with U.S. CEOs to India. That served as an opening. The fact is that economic matters and strategic matters are all connected. And so this is a very important aspect of it. In the United States, of course, we feel that diversity is our strength. And the cultural program with the diaspora of Indian Americans also is important.
Right, sir. And apart from trade ties, now, of course, we have to talk about the bonhomie between U.S. President Joe Biden and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Now, at a time when the United States is headed for elections, how do you see these ties evolving in case, of course, U.S. President Joe Biden will be replaced as well? Also, Prime Minister Modi has called America-India ties the AI power of the world. How do you assess this statement as well?
Well, I think that the meeting between President Biden and the Prime Minister went very well, as it always has during the tenure. You know, it was President Biden who elevated the Quad up to a leader's level and really energized it. I thought it was very important that the President and the Prime Minister discussed a fabrication factory for semiconductors. They talked about the auto parts. They talked about strong mutual interest in defense R&D, and they didn't shy away from worldwide problems such as the Russian invasion of Ukraine and what was going on across the world. So I think that that's a very important part of it. And one of the things that it led to, of course, is India assuming leadership in regard to the Quad. The Prime Minister saying the Quad is here to stay. India is going to be the leader of the Quad, the four democracies in the Indo-Pacific strategic area. And India is becoming more and more a part and a leader, really, in regard to the strategic architecture of that area. So there's no question that this is a major step forward and one which shows that the United States and India is the two greatest democracies, the two largest and I would say greatest democracies in the world, have so much in common. I always am happy to be on WION because world is one network. It seems to me to capsulize the common perspective of India and the United States in working together for peace and prosperity worldwide. So those were huge steps, and Prime Minister Modi is to be congratulated, as is the president. Now, we have an election coming up. The good news is, of course, that there is strong bipartisan support in the United States, regardless of who's elected. The not so good news is you really don't know what former President Trump will do on any given day, and we do not want to go back to a transactional approach between the United States and India.
Right, Mr. Vikri, like you also mentioned that India and the US are working towards peaceful prosperity, but it's also important to discuss it about the trade pact signed between both the countries. There was a lot of emphasis given on cooperation being built across AI, quantum and other critical technology areas. And one of the watershed arrangement was also the semiconductor fab agreement signed between India and US. Talk to us more about that and perhaps how this only strengthens growing India-US ties.
Well, you know, Secretary of Commerce Raimondo came out to India about a year ago and put in motion the whole cooperation in the semiconductor area. There's no question that India is a vast reservoir of talent in the artificial intelligence area and across the board in regard to the new and developing technologies. And what we want to have happen is to have cooperation between the United States and India in such things as semiconductor fabrication and research and development, rather than competition where one is trying to beat the other all the time. And that was a major part of the discussion between President Biden and Prime Minister Modi. And there is no question that we'll hear more about this, I think, tomorrow as we look to the future. And the future is one which the United States and India have more in common than perhaps any other two nations. The future is between great democracies who have a reservoir of innovation and the ability to do research and development in the technologies of the future. And that describes the United States and India perfectly.
Right, Mr. Vikri, thank you so much for joining us on World DNA with your insights.
Always a pleasure.